1 hour, 48 minutes, and 25 seconds. That's how long it takes to compete in the longest game in Valorant history. The two competitors, Crest Gaming, Reject, Red Bull Homeground Qualifier, Japan. It was only a quarterfinal, but that did not matter. Because the score in this game was 28 to 26. Now first, let's take a look at the comps. We're playing here on Haven, and Reject are playing a pretty standard comp here, kind of, you know, with the Neon Cypher. This has kind of become quite a standard idea, but on the other side, Crest are playing an interesting idea. They've got an Astra with the 5 stars, of course, and they're going for kind of the old Viper Sky idea, but with a Neon and Cypher instead, so kind of an updated version of kind of the Viper comps that we saw from last season. And this was a pretty defensive game, as we'll see as we go forward, but let's just take a quick look at round number 7 to just see how this comp with the Viper Astra defends, right? And one thing that I think that this comp is really, really good at, adding a Cypher and a Neon into this as well, is just take a look at how well they can stall like the back site, right? You might get in onto the site somewhat, but you just saw there an Astra Suck in here with the Viper Wall stopping this Neon from coming in, and now you've got the Cypher trips. You take a look at this, you've got the cage, the snakebite, the wall. How do you take the back site here if you are Reject, right? How do you get through all this? Like, where are you going to get through all that? What do you do, right? And so by the time that they actually, you know, are here on the site, look at the map. Everyone's here. All of the defenders are here. And when you get a map that looks like this, it's probably not going to go great for you on the attack.
さあここでシーカーを展開した桜井です。このシーカーを頼りに素早いリテイクが始まる。サイトの手前側に控えているところ、ブライアンのオーバードライブすでに終わっている。Kの飛び込みジャッジ、しかしまだ耐えているブライアン。ステージ上、桜井ポジショニング。
And so you see, with the defensive power there and the stall of this comp, Crest would take that, even though they lost the pistol, to an 8-4 lead at what in a normal game would be the half. Then in the second half though, Reject would win both the defensive pistol and the defensive bonus round, allowing them to put 5 rounds together at the start of the half to actually give them the lead. But we then go back and forth between Crest and Reject, and eventually Crest would overcome 2 map points for Reject to bring it back to 12-12.
プッシュ、まさかもう一人いるとは思わなかったか。しかし全てをさばいた。さすがに3人で打った。ノーパルス。スライディングで追いかけて。
And so we entered overtime, and to start off with, of course, nothing is too crazy. It's just a normal overtime like any other game. And despite the fact that the main portion of the game was, you know, defensive sided, that didn't stop both teams from winning the attack round on their first overtime round.
インスモークショーティー。さあこれでスパイクの設置は難しくなった。いや C サイトに行くしかないか。イエボルと時間を稼ぐ。時間稼いでる。さあしかしここは突破した。サイトの中スパイク設置は通ります。しかし A リンク 1v2 の状況です。スパイク設置後ケージで時間を稼いだ。ここからの立ち回りは難しい。裏から1人が来ている。時間制限がある状況。ここはまだ裏からワンピック。桜井正面ドンブキル。シーカーが到達する前の当たり合い。
But then, after round 26, we entered the Bizarro world. Because the next 18 rounds in a row were won by the defensive side. I mean, I have never, ever seen anything like this. And I don't think you will see anything ever like this, maybe ever again. And of course, it always happens like this, right? Where we're about to go on an 18 streak in a row of defensive rounds. But the first couple of those rounds actually were pretty close, right? Round 27, we actually get a stick of the spike under kind of the attacker's noses. Then in round 28, we actually ended up with a 1v1 between the two Neons. But then as we kept progressing further and further and further, the defensive teams just started getting more and more in control, and these rounds were just demolitions from the very start.
さあガレージもう一勝負フラッシュを入れたところは
And even if the spike did go down in some of these rounds, it always kind of felt like the defenders were still in control.
レクシバズを捉えたサイトの裏はすでにリジェクトのものフラッシュを入れながら味方に勝負をしてもらう形さあ桜井打ち勝ちますがなだれ込んでいくはリジェクト
But then in round 36, we had a chance.
先ほどまではファーストブラッドを取れていたリジェクトしかしこの2キルによって状況が変わったかバズサイド1人を捉えたがすかさずカバー人数差崩しませんエリンク残っただけ救えるか1人目内に上がった 1v2 1人の位置を捉えている壁抜きでダメージを与えているが一度リロードが必要ですケージサイドの展開を作った武器を変えて剣の体力が削れているサイトちょうど両者が回るような形サイドを捉えている捉えた 1v1 さあしかしあと1人の配置がわからないシーリンク警戒していますがすでにサイトなどが回っているところ裏側を捉えているさあこの辺りは
But as soon as this chance was lost, we were straight back to defensive dominance.
リジェクトショックボルトでポジション潰しそしてファーストレー飛び込むタイミングジャッジオーバータイムでもジャッジですそしてショート側桜井抑えてトレイルブレーザー工作確認すかさずカバー飛び出してさあ時間を一瞬稼いだところ桜井成
Now at this point in the game at 1919 here on round 39, you'll see that I'm actually at the end of the VOD. You see this VOD was actually 11 hours and 55 minutes long, but the game isn't about to end. In fact, we've still got quite a bit of game to go, so they actually had to make a second stream. Now, one of the funnier things about this game, in my opinion, is the fact that you get one extra timeout as a team to take during overtime, right? And normally they're, done within the first couple of rounds or whatever. But the reject coach thought, no, I'm going to wait till 21-21 to actually take my timeout here, right? And you have to remember that reject are the team that are constantly kind of fighting match point because, they're the team that has to defend second. So I don't know how it took us this long to take a timeout in overtime, but I just thought that was pretty funny. And so we were going back and forth constantly for 3/4 of a normal game, just winning defensive rounds. But of course, eventually someone had to win an attacking round, and of course they did in a very messy and scrappy way.
いや手前側背中を捉えた打ち勝ったしかし武藤カバー両者カバー合戦ミッドのアタリアはついているさあこれでリジェクトアタッカーサイド取得なるか
そこにはプロフェルドが
背中を捉えるか正面衝突でプロフェルドいやしかし切り開いた
And so what this meant was, remember when I talked about Reject having 2 chances to close out the game in regulation? Well, this was their first map point on round 46 since round 26. But don't you worry, because even though Crest have just lost their last 9 attacking rounds in a row, of course they picked this one to be the one that they would win.
さあ全員が打てましたとなればここはブライアンあとは耐えるだけしかしここはカバー剣サイトの裏スクリーンここも飛び出しカバーしかしジャクシー2キロを返した 2v2 すでにサイトの中に入り込んでいるバナナ設置を狙いに行く桜井返した残り13秒さあどうする滝はどうするスクリーン耐えて耐えていけ勝ち切った
And at this point the teams were going crazy because we both just won an attacking round, and then he decided, you know what? We love that so much. Let's do it again. Let's both win an attacking round. Now, it's at this kind of point in the game where VLR actually runs out of space, because you might look at the timeline here of VLR and be like, wow, look at all these defensive rounds. But actually, this isn't the end of the game. You actually have to scroll through and actually create this kind of extra little bit to see actually where the game ended. And so the back and forth continued. Some more, this time again with some more attacking round wins. Crazy, I know. But then we entered round number 53, and there was a B retake for Crest Gaming.
さあリジェクト早めのリテイクを狙っていくが現在ミッドガードを完全に引き切っているリジェクトの面々さあ一度カウンターのアビリティが飛んできますがネビュラを焚きそして追加のスクリーンさあウィンドウそしてミッドの当たり合い両チームともにスモーク抜きを狙っているような状況ですさあそしてガレージ車線を通すがブロフェルドウィンドウをロックしているがブライアンダーできる あとは追加のネビュラでのガチ解除。しかしショーティーにもつけて少人数戦。
おー
まず
And then finally, we come to round number 54. 30 more rounds than a normal regulation game. And what's so funny about this as well is it starts off really, really bad for Crest Gaming before they finally decide we've had enough.
あ、しかもガイディングの反応ない。
いやしかしここでのダブルキル。
今のそれでガイディングレート反応なかったんで、この手前の位置の警戒を行うの難しかったですね。
さあ映画は初動は潰されました。ジャンプピークを捉えたブロフェルドですが3対5、苦しいアタッカーサイトです。すでにガイディングライトトレイルブレイザーを使っています。体で行くしかないその状況でフラッシュポイントしかるべきタイミング。しかしここブロフェルド要対応。これで人数はイーブン。リグロスを回しつつ、さあ武藤ヘブンスターまだ耐久続けています。しかしグラビティベルの分断、
このポジション
さあ一気に人数有利か。クレストゲーミングゼスト
3対2
突破するのはここか。
バス体力苦しい。
リグロスギリギリ届くラインで一瞬回復回しました。さあそしてバスで飛び出した。あー勝ったー。長い戦い。
And of course, if you're wondering where this game fits within the annals of Valorant history, well, technically there is one other game on VLR which does have a higher score, and it's this game from First Strike Brazil, B4 Esports versus No2B Esports. That actually ended 30-28, as you can see on Ascent. But this does not have any VODs. It doesn't even have the VLR, score of how it actually went here. It only goes up to round 25. So, who knows what actually happened in this game? We'll have to ask, I don't know, some of these players that you might recognize the names of here that played in this game. But yeah, this was way back in the day. So I guess technically this isn't the longest game, but it is the longest game that has a VOD at least. And now with this video will be kept no matter what happens to the VOD in the future.